The major news outlets weren't the first to call the election for Donald Trump. It wasn't even a polling group or a political organization. Instead, it was Polymarket that beat everyone to the punch, confirming the results hours before it hit the news. It's not the only reason they've been in the headlines. In the wake of the election, the FBI raided the home of Polymarket's CEO, Shane Copland, and confiscated.
The government makes the rules and he didn't follow them, so now they're getting him under arrest, man. It sucks that, like, there's a double standard. It's because the government's not getting a massive cut, I bet. Yeah.
His phone, although he wasn't actually arrested. So who got the spooks so spooked? Polymarket is a relatively new company that offers people a different way to gamble. Users can buy shares on the outcomes of real-world events with the
That is so weird to me that there's people who bet on everything. Like, what are they gonna name the new royal baby? What? Is TikTok gonna be banned? Is it gonna happen? 355,000 people bet on this shit. It just blows my mind. You could do it on anything. You could chat. What if we start betting on VTubers? Do you think that would sell? I bet you it would. Like HoloLive, like next person to graduate or something. Yeah.
the odds depending on what people are willing to pay for either result. It's in practice a completely deregulated system, using USDT, and Polymarket's About page is keen to tell you that there is no house and they don't actually take a cut of the wages or have any stake in the outcome. They've also said that the raid was nothing more than political punishment from the outgoing administration. But the whole
because they're not following their rules. Yeah, obviously.
The whole site does seem to exist in a legal grey area.
Like that.
Polymarket's detractors have accused it of being just another shady crypto experiment designed to take people's money, while the company itself and their supporters see it as a less exploitative improvement on gambling and the future of an industry that's always going.
Gambling is so bad for society. It is up there with alcohol addiction, drug addiction, and sex addiction, 100%. The big four. I would argue there's another one, but I can't think of it right now. And VTubers!
To exist. But before we can ask these questions and dive deeper into Polymarket, we need to take a step back and consider the context of all of this happening in. These days, gambling is everywhere. It's had a massive effect on culture, most notably in the world of sports.
$235 billion? I'm gonna throw up. You could combine the GDP from like the next 20 richest countries, and that would probably be like close to 235 billion. If I remember correctly.
Sports. Until recently though, there were lots of barriers for entry to betting on sports. To do it legally, you generally needed to go into an actual brick and mortar store. There are ID checks and other barriers to entry, so compared to today, it did take a lot more time to start wagering. Gambling was present on TV as well, but there were still restrictions that kept gambling participation rates pretty steady over time. But today, it's a completely different story, and now people are gambling on every single thing in society, from which movies hit in the
Well, advertising is also insanely out of control. There's no regulation. Cigarettes used to be advertised on TV to be good for you. That's the problem. It's not. It's completely allowed now. You get Twitch ads for gambling. Type 1 if you've gotten a gambling ad on Twitch or on YouTube. I've seen it. Yeah, lots of you guys have seen it. At least once. It doesn't mean that it's targeting you specifically. It's because you're probably a male. They love targeting males for some reason.
Box office, to which presidents come into power, all the way to which wars are won. In 2018, the US Supreme Court reversed a federal ban on sports betting, leaving it up to the states to decide, and most have chosen to legalize it, which also coincided with the rise of mobile gambling apps. And since 2018, there's also been a massive rise in the amount of people with gambling addiction problems.
It's because it's so accessible now through your phone. You used to have to go out, get money, get cash. You'd have to actually go out and physically do the activity. Now it's like at the click of a button.
Surveys and charities running gambling addiction hotlines have confirmed it. A research paper by Stephen Shapiro from the University.
Wait, go back. Approximately 2.5 million adults in the US are severely addicted to gambling, and another 4 to 6 million who have mild to moderate gambling. Gacha count? I don't think it does it? Because that's technically a video game.
Charities running gambling addiction hotlines have
It's
confirmed
insane,
it. A
dude.
research paper by Stephen Shapiro from the University of South Carolina showed that sports and betting have an almost symbiotic relationship. A rise in popularity of one leads to more attention for the other and vice versa. Over
Yeah.
time, the two industries have become completely enmeshed. We've seen similar results in the UK, where regulation has been lax for years. Now nearly every football team in the UK has a betting company logo on their jersey. Gambling ads now almost run non-stop during sports programming in the US. American football
Well, yeah, obviously, because they're just working together. Why wouldn't they? And the government's in on it too. It's gonna be really hard to twist this and try and ban it outright. Again, the people got really upset when cigarettes got banned, or not banned, but like regulated.
and its frequent pauses have even let them sneak in between individual plays. And this video isn't to say that gambling as a whole is a terrible thing, but it's the positive association with gambling that could be slightly concerning. And we're not just talking about sports, we're talking about kid gamblers, and the promotion of gambling on anything and everything for teens. In a 2014 report, the UK Gambling Commission noted a massive rise in problems with gambling among 11 to 17-year-olds.
CSGO loot boxes have ruined people's lives. I watched an entire little mini documentary on it, and there were people who started gambling CSGO boxes when they were 13. They'd like save up money from their Christmas, from their parents, and they'd blow it all on CSGO boxes. And now other video game companies are doing the exact same thing. Like League does it too now. They used to never do gambling. Now it's all a gacha system where you have to slot in like a minimum of $200 to get like the really nice skin.
The amount of kids who would qualify as having problems with gambling more than doubled from 0.7% to 1.5%. And that's only in the space of a single year. These are children who've been having problems with hard gambling, but a different kind of softer gambling has been promoted to children for years through predatory practices that have become common in video games. As games have evolved, companies realized they could make far more money through a so-called freemium model. The basic gameplay is usually free, with added content, cosmetics, or even in-game advantages costing extra. The real money comes in from game purchases and microtransactions. Over time, they found out that the best way to make the most money with the system was to create an in-game casino system. They started as a way for players with less time on their hands to access items they could otherwise grind for. However, this wasn't enough for some companies, so they
They're just they started doing this so early. This is sad, man. This is so depressing. Like, think about it. When I was growing up, like, I did see some gamba here and there, but it wasn't like, you know, in my video games, at least not that I remember. There's fake gambling, sure. But this is like actually putting in money and like ripping a slot. Yeah, and it was nothing like this.
turned to the one business proficient at ensuring its customers' return, casinos. And things started to spiral out of control when companies saw how much players spent on loot boxes. Games like Call of Duty would start introducing loot boxes to reward players with
They didn't have loot boxes back in Modern Warfare 2. I know that for a fact. You earned everything through like grinding or doing like achievements and shit. Yeah, I remember that. It was so fun to like watch my brother unlock stuff. And now it's all gamba, because it makes us money.
Cosmetic items.
Oh,
nothing that would ever enhance the gameplay or even give you any money back. Players love changing the appearance of their main character to suit themselves better, and add their own identity to the character. Finding new items became a fun little gimmick that came with leveling up. Loot box
Battle passes have done irreversible damage to free games. You used to just have like a store where you could buy stuff, and now battle passes are tacked on top of that. And you'd be stupid not to buy them. You are actually like losing out if you're not buying the battle pass. That's the clever mechanic that these game devs put in as well.
boxes triggered feelings similar to what one might experience while gambling. The anticipation that comes with the mystery of what's in the box. The excitement that followed finding an item that you've been looking for a while. All the disappointments that settles in when you realize you weren't so lucky this time around. Loot boxes used to be discoverable in-game, or granted to you for free upon login. These days, multiple games require spending real money to get them. And we're talking about major gaming companies where you've already paid to access the game itself. And not
Well, yeah, they want more money, and suckers love to give them more money. There was a guy, I remember, I think it was on FIFA, that spent $100,000 and he posted about it on Reddit and people are saying, hey, you have a problem? And the guy said, it's not a problem, I can afford it. And they're like, but you're ruining the game for everyone else. It's like, I don't give a fuck, I can afford it, why do I care? There's always a whale out there. Like, if you think that you're ruining the game, there's someone who's swiping even harder than you are. Massive whales support entire video games.
Not only does this incentivize especially children to spend ridiculous amounts of money on digital items, but they're also paying far more because of the gambling mechanics, all without their parents' knowledge. You see, loot boxes operate on a system of rarity. They're designed to be as similar to slot machines as possible, and while it makes major gaming publishers tons of money, it also prepares them for a lifetime of gambling, and all of
You have a dopamine problem. My favorite gambas are the ones that are like, if you hit 200, if you spent 200 points, you're guaranteed to get the thing at 200, like slots or spins or like tries, right? Those are my favorite because people think they're going to win and you never ever break below like 80% way through to the 100, spins. Yeah, the pity system, exactly. You will never beat that. You're never going to get lucky.
this has fueled a new renaissance for gambling, which brings us straight back to polymarket.
Polymarket.
If you're still fumbling around with a bulky, outdated wallet, let me introduce you to Extra, the creators of the world's smartest wallets.
Wow.
These aren't your ordinary wallets. They're slim, sleek, and packed with features that'll make your life so much easier. You see,
So
Extra
I can
wallets are
steal it
super
easier,
slim,
chat.
holding over 12 cards in cash while staying half the size of traditional wallets. Their signature trigger mechanism lets you access your cards with just the push of a button. It's simple, fast, and so satisfying. And if you're worried about security, Extra has you covered with the RFID blocking, so that your data stays safe from wireless skimming and theft. Plus, they're also made with sustainable materials like vegan Italian leather and space-grade aluminum. And one of their game changers is the Finder card. This solar-powered tracker ensures you never lose your wallet again. 2 hours of sunlight gives you 3 months of charge. And with the two-way ringing feature, you can find your wallet or even your phone in seconds. Plus, you'll get separation alerts and
Yeah, and if someone tries to steal it, you can go beat the shit out of them.
access to a worldwide lost and found network, so that you're always connected to your essentials. Right now, Extra is running the biggest sale of the year, up to 55% off with the code MOON from December 9th to December 25th. So if you're looking for a perfect gift or an upgrade for yourself, this is your chance. Just use the link in the description below, partner.extra/moon, and use the code MOON to take advantage of this amazing deal. Trust me, once you try Extra, you'll never want to go back to your old wallets.
Yeah, because I'll be
They've
gambling
been one
all
of the
my
leading
money.
horses in a race to monetize a new way of gambling, a peer-to-peer marketplace for betting on the outcomes of real-world events. The site mixes crypto, gambling, and the stock market all into one. In normal gambling, people place weight
Harder to track too, or at least the government has a harder time tracking. I don't know. I don't know much about crypto, but it is harder to regulate crypto than like regular gambling.
wagers on an outcome. In roulette, for example, if you place a bet on black and the ball lands on one of the black numbers, then you win. Polymarket and other sites like it are a little different. Instead, it's like you can buy shares for each outcome. So you could either buy shares that the ball will land on black or that it won't land on black. The amount you can win is decided by what other people are willing to pay. If most users think there's a 55% chance it will land on black, then the share will cost 55 cents and pay out $1 if you're right. This system means that you can either just bet on the outcome or wait for the result by buying shares of one of the outcomes. Or you can buy and sell shares before the outcome even happens, either making a profit or a loss based on how the consensus has changed. It all means that no third party is taking a cut, but other problems come up instead, as we'll find out. If you're going to believe the founder Shane Copland's social media posts, Polymarket began in a bathroom on a laptop sitting on top.
Oh my god. Dude, this guy's a freak. He's drinking Dasani and he has one of those freak Logitech mouses. And he has a smashed door. This guy's into crypto gambling? This actually makes so much sense. It tracks. And he has an Apple keyboard. Like, what the frick?
Of a laundry basket. But it wouldn't stay that way for long.
That's
Launched in
fine.
2020, the site was functional months before the election in November. By offering a way to bet on the outcome, it picked up steam, and by around October, Polymarket had already attracted $4 million from crypto and venture capitalist investors. After the election died down though, the site fell into stagnation for years. Then in 2022, the CFTC banned them from letting American citizens use the platform and fined the site $1.4 million. But strangely, this didn't seem to make much of a difference at all.
$1.4 million when they make like probably like 10 million a year. It's not that bad for them. That's
Whether
like
the ban
nothing.
actually works is up in the air, and it's hard to tell whether polymarket's compliance extended beyond lip service. But it wasn't until the 2024 election cycle that polymarket's growth picked up again. This time though, it was going to get a whole lot more popular than anyone expected. As reported by Fortune, the trading volume on polymarket stayed at around $40 to $60 million for the first 5 months of 2024.
Wow.
Then in June, it almost doubled to $110 million. The site was picking up speed, and a month later, this tripled again, climbing past $500 million by
That's after 3 months.
September. Finally, with the election around the corner, it rose by another 500% to $2.5 billion.
I told you that 1.4 million fine was nothing. It was like a drop in the bucket. It was like a little bit of a hit here, but no.
Since then, trading volumes have dropped,
my God.
but not nearly to the levels they were at before the election. The business model and the site itself seem to at least have some staying power, and recent news might be an indication that some people are very worried about its growth. While the media and opinion polls had Trump and Kamala in a dead heat, the consensus on polymarket was much more in Trump's favor. In the market for who would win on the 1st of November, a few days before the election, Trump was sitting at nearly 63%, with Harris on just under 37%. When Trump won, polymarket also declared victory.
I know you guys got a lot of flack for that, and I just appreciate you guys standing up for it. And hopefully you guys feel the same sense of victory that we do.
Now, you could give a lot of reasons as to why. A Trump administration could be more likely to let them operate without much regulation, and it might let them have US-based users again. And during the
Well, again, they are saying that because the previous administration was trying to take them down before that. That's probably why they're saying that. They find them and they're trying to investigate them.
election, people were slandering polymarket as being outrageously right-wing, all due to their predictions that Trump would actually win the election. Unlike
it's like soft censorship. You're not allowed to say, hey, Trump's gonna win or X is gonna win.
mainstream polling that suggested the race was close. Their user base's bias to being pro-Trump was also proven correct as well, adding weight to their claims of representing the true voice of the people. But just a few days later though, the FBI suddenly raided polymarket's offices in New York, confiscating Copland's phone and laptop. While other similar exchanges have been allowed to operate and let users place bets on US politics, polymarket had not gotten the go-ahead. Meanwhile, it's almost certain that lots of US citizens have been using the platform, bypassing the region lock with
didn't Aiden Ross bet on the election too? He's an American citizen. Whatever happens to that? Like, if you bet and you're not allowed to bet, how does that work? Do you use offshore accounts, I guess?
VPN. Whether it's polymarket's responsibility to investigate and stop this, though, is a legal question. So while they were obviously breaking their deal, they also have tons of plausible deniability that could possibly see them through a lawsuit if nothing else comes up. But of course, polymarkets were quick to claim that it was all a case of political punishment by the outgoing Democrats. The main objection that polymarket's detractors have raised is based on the fact that it's unregulated. They say it opens the doors to insider trading, market manipulation, and other predatory practices. Just a few days before the election, Fortune.com published a piece accusing polymarket of being a full of wash trading, a scam where users buy and sell lots of the same shares over and over again to make it look like a hot commodity. The crypto firms that came up with this analysis state up to a third of the activity surrounding the presidential market, the largest on the site, was wash trading. Other smaller markets on the site are even more vulnerable to manipulation. Their low trading volumes make it far easier for people to artificially move the markets with
But market manipulation happens like every day. It literally happened with Hawk Tua. How is that any different from like making a coin and fleecing people? Nothing ever happens to these people. I know that RuneScape streamer, what's his name, Poseidon, also did a rug pull and nothing ever happened to him. Yeah, I feel like, again, they're really nitpicking on the fact just because you can bet on everything, including the election, which is really political.
That's why they're mad. It seems like these kinds of things are almost expected in unregulated online financial markets, but perhaps the biggest reason behind the US's new crackdown on polymarkets could be that it's something they don't control or make a profit from, with no third party taking a cut.
The last part probably, because they're not making money.
Managing the odds, polymarket gives people a crystal clear view of what the consensus is on certain events. It offers a perspective of the world that they can't control and is therefore dangerous. Governments also rarely have a problem with gambling if they're the ones profiting from it. The lottery, which is often a massive slice of a country's entire gambling industry, is insanely profitable for them.
That's what I'm saying. Again, because it's unregulated, they're not getting a cut. They're really mad.
Like printing money, but without the inflation because they're taking it out of people's pockets. If Polymarket's model of peer-to-peer gambling takes off for other things, it could severely dent both of these profits and the ones they tax from regular casinos and bookmakers. It's not something they want to happen. While it might be unlikely, with so much money on the line, why would they risk anything? At the end of the day, Polymarkets isn't the problem, and gambling itself in moderation isn't a terrible thing. The issue—
it's just a symptom of the situation. Again, it's fine when they have gambling ads for football, for everything essentially, for football, for soccer, for boxing, as long as they get their cut. They're the ones deciding the rules. Polymarket isn't part of their little spiel. They have entire legislation that said, okay, it's fine to have gambling and gambling apps and ads, but if they're working together, it's also fine. How do you know they're not rigging the results of, like, football? You don't. Yeah, like, you just don't know what's happening. You're not an insider. They could be rigging it for all you care. But no, they don't care because they're getting the money.
The issue is that Polymarket is just a symptom of a culture that's let gambling go way too far. And the media's only concerned because it's a tiny part of the industry that the establishment isn't taking a cut from. All the other rigged forms of gambling where you're pretty much guaranteed to lose money are absolutely fine in their eyes.
That is just so wild to me. $2 million balance and they're just spinning $5,000 away. And little kids are watching this and are like, oh my god, Drake and XQC are so cool. I want to be a millionaire one day too, so I can gamble on stream. Little Timmy, you're not going to be one of them. Sorry, hate to break it to you. You're going to be the one donating to them.
And regulation has been almost willingly useless. In 2021, the UK government took measures like adding a minimum time between spins of 2.5 seconds.
For online slots, couldn't you just, like, make a new account or, like, use a different, like, iPad or something? Yeah, I feel like you can really counter that by buying, like, another iPad or another little laptop while you're spinning. And then you just have, like, triple the fucking fun. You just go increases the intensity of play or give an illusion of control. No, man, if you're that addicted, you will find a way around it. It's like the people that pulled up multiple screens of, like, corn to beat off to because their brain is so rotted out of their skull. They need, like, multiple forms of stimulation. Even though porn is already so stimulated, their brain is completely hooked and fried. Yeah, they multi-box. Yes, I'm not even joking. There are people who are so addicted they need to have, like, a TV, an iPad, and then, like, a phone in front of them, and then they have, like, the main screen. Yeah, this is real. Look it up. Look it up.
It's a hard rule that's definitely going to slow down the problem and prevent even more people from falling into addiction. That is, unless people figure out that they can just open up two separate websites.
Wait, it's not even as deep as I thought. You can just open up a new website and log in. I thought you'd have to get a new device. Because I thought, oh, well, maybe they'll ban, like, the IP or something. I don't fucking know. This isn't even that bad.
Websites. Plus, it really doesn't take that much time to sink an entire paycheck into online slots, even with those minor restrictions. Meanwhile, you've got streamers on Kick streaming slots to tens of thousands of people, and you can pretty safely assume that a large part of the audience is—
oh, this is that crazy guy! Oh my god, I reacted to this guy, but he basically does drugs, and he did a bunch of really hard drugs. He's crazy. It's on my Patreon because I couldn't post it on YouTube. It was, like, age restricted, but it was fascinating watching this.
Children. The big streamers often aren't using their own money. Gambling sites give them massive wallets to burn live on stream, just to draw in potential users. They have big floats, and most of the slot games work by buying a certain amount of spins and then winning money back. So each time these guys play, there's all these flashy graphics of massive wins showing up on screen. And while this isn't really lying, it's definitely meant to be as misleading as possible, as it creates the connection between win—
wait, is that the doghouse? Hold on, is that the doghouse?
It's definitely meant to be as misleading as possible, as it—
oh, man. No, it's not the doghouse. Do you guys remember the doghouse? I lost to the doghouse, bro. I lost everything to the doghouse. I got doghoused.
Creates the connection between winning massive amounts of money and the slop website they're using. Even as you see the laws of probability work themselves out and the balances slowly go down, it doesn't matter. You can tell how integral these social media sites are for gambling companies' marketing plan. Otherwise, they wouldn't be funding an entire streaming platform just for this. But one of the worst things about all of this is that addicts can never really escape an easy way to indulge their addiction. Unless you entirely stop using a smartphone, it's always going to be there right in your pocket, or even on Times Square. It's like a smoker trying to quit smoking while keeping a pack of cigarettes in their pocket. And that's not to say there shouldn't ever be gambling adverts, not at all, but it's the way it's been adopted by everyone, by everything.
Look at these colors too. It reminds me of the cocoa melon colors. Someone reminded me, they said cocoa melon, right?
Gambling adverts, not at all, but it's the way it's...
Look at the bright colors. They're so jarring. They're stimulating your brain so bad. You're like, yes, I need to keep spinning. Look at the bright colors, yes. If I win $1 million, I'm 1/3 of the way back. Let's go, boys.
Been adopted by everyone, by everything, where every single event in society is made to just be another part of gambling, which could be especially dangerous for those constantly losing when their entire addiction is centered around the dopamine rush that comes with a winning bet. And when you run out of money to keep it going, it's like being dropped in the icy water of reality. It all comes rushing on and you realize just how much money you lost and what the real life consequences are going to be, which is...
And then you want to win it back and you start calling people for money. It's real sad. I don't know what's worse, gambling or drug addiction. I think it's both, they're both in the same, playing field. You both lose everything. You start asking for money from everyone so you can get that dopamine hit again. And if you can't get that dopamine hit, you start having withdrawals. Like mental withdrawals with gambling, but with physical withdrawals with, drugs. Yeah, they're both as equally as bad as one another, in my opinion.
One of the things that makes the mainstream promotion of this so uniquely gripping is that everybody's trying to avoid this feeling, especially in a society where people are becoming poorer and poorer, uneven to even safely survive, constantly being shown this option of winning, where you can gamble on everything, which movies hit in the box office, which president gets elected, hoodwinking millions and millions of people trying to avoid the reality of losing, trying to avoid the reality of their own situation in life. And while in moderation it can be fun and fine, the problem comes when every single thing is monetized in this way. When you're a kid, it's
the other big issue is that a lot of these people that get addicted to gambling, they think that it's like a form of revenue and not something that you just do for fun. And if you win, then that's cool. They think that they can actually make like a career out of gambling. And that's the saddest part. The ones that are hooked in and trying to win the money back, that's like a psychological thing. But the stupid people who think they can win and then they get in the hole and then they're like, okay, well, if I keep spinning, then if I win $1 million, I can get back what I earned. That's how they get started. And then you realize you lost everything and then you start going like, oh God, what do I do? Oh, I gotta sell a TV. Oh God, I gotta go back to work. Oh, fuck me, shit, ugh.
Loot boxes. And as you grow up, this sort of thing just becomes normal. But it is important to remember though that there is always still hope for recovery. We're built to deal with adversity and keep going through tough conditions and not resist temptation. But with how much this stuff is pushed into people's faces, it's almost a sign of a society that's completely financially unstable, where materialism and money is promoted against everything else. Lots of addicts look back on their first bet and know that if they had lost instead of won, that whole habit would have never been formed and they would have escaped.
I don't believe that. I think people are too stupid and they don't know how mathematics work. Again, I've brought up this example before. I realized how gambling works in terms of like statistics and things after I went to college and I did statistics 101 and 201 and I played Hearthstone. I lost 8 coin flips in a row and I realized how absolutely unlucky I am just because of statistics. You can't win 8 head or tail coin tosses in a row. But it can happen. It's just very unlikely. And people keep going back to that thinking, I can win. If I get 3 coin tosses in a row, which is statistically really improbable. But if I do it, if I try, then I might win. They just don't understand how math works.
Ironically, the dangers of gambling are always created by being lucky in the beginning. People who have revealed it to their families and their friends are often surprised at how willing they are to help, but the absolute worst move is to keep it to yourself and bear the burden of being alone. It isn't a problem that people should be ashamed about, especially when it's promoted in almost everything, even just subtly without you ever realizing. But as we've seen, it's so ingrained into our culture today that children are already getting addicted before they have a bank account, and polymarket and its competitors are therefore just the tip of a giant iceberg in a culture addicted to gambling. Regulating it is probably a good idea, but it's a comparatively tiny problem compared to the awful state of modern gambling itself and the root cause of why people are turning to this so much more than they have in the past.
That's why CSGO gambling is also really, really bad, because the value behind like a really rare drop has still monetary value. If you gamble on waifus, you don't have the same attachment towards chasing the waifu that you want, because there's no monetary value to it. You can't like resell it or like, you know, make money off of it. You're not chasing like a high. You're not chasing the dragon that exists. Like, yeah, sure, it's annoying when you don't get your wife, when you get upset and you spend like $200. You can sell the account. I'll explain again. When you, in certain video games, you can sell the item that you gamba away. You don't have to sell the account. There's an open market where people can buy it. That's why people that do it. If you want to sell your account, it's against TOS and it's probably difficult to pull off and it's annoying, but like it's another preventative barrier. Whereas with things that are regulated and are okay by, for example, by Valve to sell your guns that are worth like $1,000, that's when it becomes a problem.
Money, materialism, and economic insecurity is a mounting problem in society, then it's no surprise that this stuff is so legitimized in almost every facet of society. But tackling that problem rocks the boat for everyone. It would dent the tax revenue and the lobbyist money that comes streaming out of the gambling industry.
Well, that's a little bit dumber. There's no pity system in gambling. If anything, what they do is really clever. When you first enter a casino sometimes, or like a gamba, they give you $100 for free just to get you hooked. I don't know if it's true, if it's rigged or not. I don't know if they could rig it, but it's very possible. If I was an evil person and I had zero morals, what I would do is make it so that there's like a slightly increased chance of them winning when they first walk through the door, and then just go back to like regular probabilities. Yeah, like casinos cop your drinks and food too. Yeah, they like want you to stay, and there's like a bunch of other psychological factors of like being at a casino. It's the same thing as the bright colors, but like again, it's in a casino and it's dark, it's dimly lit, you lose track of time. I saw also another really sad video a couple of months ago of a woman that was neglecting her child after her nursing job. She left them in the car for 4 hours to go gamba in a casino. She left them in the car and they were like, I don't know, like 3 or 4. They were like a toddler. And she came out and the police officer was there with the baby, right? They were like trying to get into, you know, the car to like save the baby because, you know, it could die. She's like, oh, she's like stumbling out of the casino. She's like, what are you doing with my baby? And the police officer's like, dude, you've been here like for 4 hours and the kid is in the car. What the fuck happened? And she's like, buh, it's only been 20 minutes. And you're like, what the fuck? She's like actually like full blown addicted. It's really sad. Very, very sad. It's very akin to drug addiction. So I keep it away from anything even vaguely gambling related. It's just one more, it won't hurt is one hell of an addictive self-hoax. Yeah, exactly. It's a bummer. She probably believed it too. Yeah, I think so, probably. She's like, oh, I'm just gonna go gamble for like 20 minutes. He's gonna be fine in the car for 20 minutes. And then it's like 3 hours later and the kid's like crying in the car. It was a literal toddler, like an infant, I think, almost. Maybe like a 1-year-old. Some neglectful parents would be like, oh, it's gonna be fine for like a 4 or 5-year-old. It's not okay still, but it's just like real sad to hear. Yeah. I've never gambled in my life, like IRL gambled. Nope. Nope.